Why do old people often say that pigs that have been raised for more than 20 years cannot be eaten? Because these older animals usually give birth to essence, and if he looks up, it means he wants to eat you. I always thought it was just a joke. Until that night, the owners suddenly sent a message on their mobile phones. There was a big white pig that could eat people in the building. Don't open the door. Everyone ate it with their noses, laughing at him for being crazy. What a joke. Only people eat pork. How can pigs be human? I also joked and asked him to come to my house. I happened to have pig's head meat for supper, but 501 suddenly fell in love with it. Run quickly. He went to your house. I sneered. I felt bored. Until love can be passed on to determine life. I saw a big blood-white pig carving a piece of meat through the cat's eyes, and at this time he suddenly looked up and hit the live broadcast, and that look was very strange and mysterious, which made my heartbeat almost miss a row. At this moment, I suddenly remembered the rumors my grandmother told me when I was a child, and he said at that time, "Child, remember, pigs can eat people. I am not talking about wild boars in the mountains, but white pigs raised at home, and my grandmother taught you how to distinguish them. You just look at the pig, the other pigs are eating seriously, but there is only one pig. He just looks up like this, and the live broadcast has to be fixed. Then this pig is not an ordinary pig. He is a pig that can think." I was thinking about how to eat you. At that time, I only thought of these as funny things, but at this moment, when I met the eyes outside the door, I suddenly realized that what my grandmother had said might be true, and I panicked in my heart. Just wanted to step back, but the next second, the sound outside the door suddenly slammed towards my door. The whole door was shaking. I lighted up and stepped back, almost fell, and the big white pig hit it again. This time the force was even greater. I even heard the sound of Sosun's strong collision. I held back the screams that had reached the back, and ran into the room with my mouth and hid in the closet. But what was outside the door was just a domestically raised white pig. No matter how powerful he was, he would not have the ability to break the door of the house. Taking advantage of this time, I quickly took out my mobile phone and prepared to call the police. I didn't dare to make a sound. I could only report the case by text message, and the police responded very quickly, telling me to hide at home and not move, and they quickly told me that we wanted to go to Thailand, and even the nearest police station here would take 40 minutes at the fastest speed. Just when I breathed a sigh of relief, with a loud noise coming from outside the door, I clearly heard the sound of left-leaning braking. How is this possible? If this pig can even knock open the door of the house, then it will break through my wooden room, and I will huddle in the corner of the quilt, sweating nervously, and at this moment the 402 next door will suddenly be pushed into the group. Scolding 401, your brain is tight. There is a noise in the middle of the night, and soon I heard the angry footsteps coming from next door. Don't make a sound, don't go out, there are pigs outside. 402 is very fast. I think you're a pig, you make trouble for others to sleep in the middle of the night, and you still make such a nonsensical excuse. Even if there is a pig, it's just a pig. I was scared like this by you, and then I heard a loud do from next door. Noisy people sleeping in the middle of the night. My mother has to go out every day to give you some teaching. 402's voice is cool and seen, and after he signed up, the sound of knocking on the door suddenly stopped, followed by a stream of water, and the sound of heavy footsteps was loud, loud. This was the body of a pig, the sound of it on the ground, and I could clearly hear the footsteps of the big white pig. It was walking towards 402 next door, and 402 next door also opened his door in his mother and father. But the next moment its scolding stopped and there was a short scream. Immediately after that, there was the sound of heavy objects falling to the ground. My heart almost stopped, and the owner group was also very lively at the moment. It's smashing things and screaming again. Is there anyone gonna broadcast live? Ha 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 ha. It's so exciting. I don't have any insects, only the 501 that reminded the group that there were pigs in the group at the intersection was sending messages. It's not people fighting, it's pigs eating people. 401 and 402 must have been eaten by pigs. Everyone must stay at home quietly, don't make a sound. People in the group ridiculed 501 for being anti-neurotic. But I know what it says is true. 4028 has already happened. No, I can't stay here anymore. The pig will definitely come back to me. I glanced at the gate that had been hit and was about to be shattered, and it was still too dangerous to walk through the gate. I didn't dare to hesitate for a second. I immediately ran out of the room and rushed to the balcony, hurriedly opening the window. This is the 5th floor. Fortunately, the natural gas pipeline outside the window is thick enough, and I can stand on a couple of people with both hands and feet, and the corridor window is next to 402, and I can only climb through the window of 402. I gritted my teeth, took a deep breath, cheered myself up, and quickly climbed out of the window, my feet trembling on the natural gas pipeline. I was facing the wall and didn't dare to look down, slowly moving to the side, and as I passed the window sign of 402, my phone vibrated, and the sound of the vibration was particularly obvious in the night when it was already sent, and then it rang in the house. The sound of pigs' trotters stepping on the ground. The sound was approaching the balcony, and I cursed in my heart, who sent me a message at this time. I didn't dare to delay it with all my strength, and I really tried my best to climb to the side. When I used all my strength to climb up the window of the corridor, the window of the 402 next door was shattered by a burst of brute force. I didn't dare to look back, and I rushed into the elevator with ducks, and only when the elevator door closed did I breathe a sigh of relief. This is why I had the heart to open my phone and look at the vibration just now, It was actually a Celiao message from 402. Wasn't it being attacked by a big white pig? I trembled and clicked on my phone to save me. It's all your fault. I'm in so much pain, my heart beats a row, my fingers are on the screen. I can't get back for a long time. And at this moment, another message pops up in the 402 dialog box. Okay. I was stunned for a while. The tone of this message made me feel like I was going crazy, and my intuition told me that the person on the other end of the phone screen was no longer 402. So I hesitated for a moment and tentatively replied, "Are you okay? The police will be here soon. That pig, what kind of pig? I'm just a little happy. Can you bring me some food? My fingers will be on the screen. What the hell is going on? It can't be a pig typing with a mobile phone." At this moment, my heart was extremely nervous, and when the elevator reached the first floor, I immediately rushed out. I had to leave the line immediately, and when I ran to the gate, I found that the door of our building was firmly locked. How could this happen? I got on the right boat, and I was familiar with the sound of tapping, and I was breathing in unison. It was the big white pig that chased after me. I didn't dare to hesitate for a second. I turned around and ran towards the elevator. The elevator was located next to the corridor, which meant that if I wanted to run to the elevator, I had to pass through the corridor. If the big white pig happened to run to the entrance of the corridor at this time, then I would definitely run into it, so I almost used all my strength to feed and rushed over desperately. But when I passed the corridor, I still saw that the big white pig happened to be better. The top of the last staircase was only 10 meters away from me, and it was only now that I really saw what this pig looked like. It was indeed a pig, but it was definitely not an ordinary house. It was 2 meters high on the left and right. Rolling body covered with pale hair, bird teeth sticking out from the corners of its mouth, 1/2 meter long on the left and right. The most terrifying thing is its eyes, red and shining, like 2 blood-colored lamps. It stares at me, leaving sticky salty water at the corners of its mouth. What the hell is this? My legs are shining. I turned around and ran desperately towards the elevator. And there was a strange sound of pig's feet behind me, and the sound of the pig's footsteps was getting closer and closer. The moment I rushed into the elevator, I desperately pressed the door button and shouted that the mansion was in the last second when the big white pig rushed over. The elevator door finally closed. I gasped for breath, quickly took out my phone, and sent messages in the night group with trembling fingers. "There is really a pig in the building that can eat people. Please don't open the door. I have reported that as long as everyone stays at home and does not make a sound, we will be fine when the police come. But the people in the group still don't think it's 401. You're starting to go crazy. This kind of joke is really boring. It's not everyone. I just seem to really hear the sound of pig's feet. Don't laugh at me. When I saw these people, I was anxious and excited, but I thought I was like this at the beginning. I couldn't say anything at once, so I had to think about myself first. And the family on the 4th floor couldn't go back, and suddenly I remembered that 501, who had issued a warning in the group at the beginning, must know something. I pressed the elevator to the 5th floor, but when I got out of the 5th floor, I found that the doors of the entire 5th floor were closed except for the door of 501, and all the doors of the other residents were open, and there was no movement at all. This made me realize that something was wrong, and I knocked on the door of 501 and sent him a letter of faith. I believed what I said at the beginning. There was really a cannibalistic pig in the building. He had eaten 402. And the door of my house had been knocked down. The door on the 1st floor was also locked, and the others in the group didn't believe me. Can I go into a house and hide? 501 didn't open the door, but it took a long time for me to send a sentence, "You shouldn't call the police, and now you're waiting to die." I was stunned. What does he mean? Why can't he call the police? Would the pig still know about me calling the police? And then became angry, the first to come to me. How could it be? But at the same time, there was already a call in the corridor. The sound of pigs kicking and roasting on the stairs squeezed my heart, and I hurriedly rushed into the room of 502, then lowered the door and locked it. And the pig seemed to know that I was in this room, and when I went to the 5th floor, I directly hit the door of 502. I pushed to the window and suddenly noticed that the balcony of 501 was next to me, with only a distance of more than a meter in the middle if I could skip over. At the same time, the door of 502 was completely shattered. The sound of furniture being knocked over came from behind me. The sound of the spider's footsteps getting tighter and tighter. I didn't have time to climb up the windowsill, jump deep, and look at the blue bullet that grabbed the balcony of 504 with my fingers. At that moment, I heard a loud noise behind me, and when I looked back, the spider jumped out as well. I tried my best to climb up, and at the last moment, I climbed into the balcony of 501, and the spider fell heavily. With a scream of suction, I sat on the ground, trembling all over, and after a while it plucked up the courage to stand up. Strangely, there was no one in 501's room, and his room was covered with a corridor. There were various experimental equipment and documents scattered on the ground. I pointed up a piece of paper which was densely packed with experimental data, and at the bottom of the document, I saw an additional title of Liuan Harry from the South, Genetically Modified Organisms Experiment Records, White Pigs and Zero Demons. My hand began to see that it was a photo of the white pig just now, but it was not much smaller, and next to the photo it was written that the test subject showed extreme aggression and tendency to be benevolent. It is recommended to destroy it immediately.